Chapter 9 of Spacehounds of IPC by E. Doc Smith. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Spacehounds of IPC. Chapter 9. The Sirius Takes a Hand. The Sirius loafed along through the ether at normal acceleration just outside the orbit of Mars and 1,000,000 miles north of the ecliptic plane. In the control room, which had been transformed into a bewilderingly complete laboratory, Norman Brandon strode up and down, waving his arms, his unruly black hair on end, addressing savagely his friend and fellow scientist, who sat unmoved and at ease. "For cat's sake, Quince, let's get busy. They're outside somewhere, since the police have scoured every cubic kilometer within range of the power plants without finding a trace of them. We've got the power question licked right now. With these fields, we can draw 60,000 kilofrancs from cosmic radiation, which is lots more than we'll ever need. We haven't drawn a franc from our plant in a month, and we've had to cut our field strength down to a whisper to keep from burning out our accumulators. We can hunt as far as Neptune easy. We can go to Alpha Centauri if we want to. This thing of piffling and monkeying around here's pulling my cork, and for the 10,467th time, I say, let's prowl and prowl now. In fact, I'm getting so sick of sticking around doing nothing that I'm going out anyway, if I have to go alone in a lifeboat." Impetuous and violent as Brandon had always been, never before had he gone to such lengths as to suggest a disruption of the partnership, and Westfall, knowing that Brandon, in his most violent moments, never threatened idly, thought long before he replied. "You will not go alone, of course. If you insist upon going without further preparation, I will go too, no matter how foolish I think such a course to be. We have power, it is true, but in all other respects we're in no condition to meet an opponent having command of such resources as must certainly be possessed by those who attack the Arcturus. Our detectors are inefficient, our system of vision is crude, to say the least, and many other things are still in the experimental stage. We have not the slightest idea whom or what we may encounter. It is all too probable that we would simply be throwing away uselessly the lives of more good men. It is also foolish from a general viewpoint, for as you already know, we and our assistants happen to be in better position to study these things than is anyone else at the present time. However, I will compromise with you. We can learn much in a month if you will really try, instead of wasting time in fuming around the ship and indulging in these idiotic tantrums. If you will buckle down and really study the problems confronting us for 30 days, we will set out at the end of that time, ready or not." "All X. I hate to do it, but we've been together too long to bust it up now." And Brandon turned toward his bench. Scarcely had he reached it when a series of dots and dashes roared from an amplifier. Both men leaped for the receiver which had so unexpectedly burst into sound, reaching it just as it relapsed into silence, and from the tape of the recorder they read the brief message. 47 Ganymede, .047... "That's Steve!" yelled Brandon. "Nobody else could build an ultra-sender! Direction?" "No need of calculating distance or direction. Ganymede is the third major satellite of Jupiter." "Sure, of course, Quince. Never thought of that. Dope enough. .047. As Stevens had told Nadia, the message was completely informing to those for whom it was intended, and soon Brandon's answer was flying toward the distant satellite. He then started to call the officers of the Interplanetary Corporation, but was restrained by his conservative friend. "It would be better to wait a while, Norman. In a few hours we will know what to tell them." At high acceleration, the Sirius drove toward the Jupiter-Earth North Plane, and Brandon calculated from his own bearings and from the current issue of the Ephemeris the time at which Stevens' reply should be received. 2 minutes before that time he was pacing up and down in front of the ultra receiver, and 15 seconds after it, he snapped, "Come on, Perce, get busy! Shake a leg!" "Oh, come on, Norman. Give him a few minutes leeway at least," said Westfall, with amused tolerance. "Even if your calculations are that accurate, which of course they are," he added hastily, at a stormy glance from hot black eyes. "Since we received that message direct, instead of through one of our relay stations, Stevens probably has been throwing it around for hours, or perhaps days, looking for us, and the shock of hearing from us at last might have put him out of control for a minute or two." The carrier wave hissed into the receiver, forestalling Brandon's fiery reply, followed closely by the code signals they had been expecting. As soon as the story had been told, and while Brandon was absorbed in the scientific addenda of Stevens, Westfall thoughtfully called up Newton, Nadia's father. "Nadia is alive, free, safe, well, and happy," he shot out without preliminary or greeting, as soon as the now lined features of the director showed upon the communicator screen, and the careworn countenance smoothed magically into the keen face of the fighting Newton of old, as Westfall recounted rapidly the tale of the castaways. "They apparently have not suffered in any way," he concluded. "All that Stevens wants is some cigarettes, and your daughter's needs, while somewhat more numerous than his, seem to be only clothes, powder, perfume, and candy. Therefore, we need not worry about them. The fate of the others is still unknown, but there seems to be a slight possibility that some of them may yet be rescued. You may release as much or as little of this story as may seem desirable. Stevens is still sending data of a highly technical nature. We shall arrive there at 2132 next Tuesday." In due time, the message from Ganymede ended, and Brandon, with many pages of his notebook crammed with figures and equations, snapped off the power of the receiver and turned to his bench. Gone was the storming, impetuous rebel. His body was ruled solely by the precise and insatiable brain of the research scientist. "He's great, that kid Perce. When I see him, I'm going to kiss him on both cheeks. He's got enough dope on them to hang them higher than Franklin's kite, and we'll nail those Jaspers to the cross, or I'm a polyp. He's crazier than a loon in most of his hunches, but he's filled 4 of our biggest gaps. There is such a thing as a ray screen, you killjoy, and there are also lifting or tractor rays, 2 things I've been trying to dope out and that you've been giving me the Bronx cheer on. The Titanians have had a tractor ray for ages. He sent me the complete dope on it, and the Jovians have got them both. We'll have them in 3 days, and it ought to be fairly simple to dope out the opposite of a tractor, too, a pusher or presser beam. Say, round up the gang, will you, while I'm licking some of this stuff into shape for you to tear apart? Where are Venus and Mars? Tell Alcantro and Fidanzo to come over here pronto. Give 'em a special if necessary. We'll pick up Dol Kinor and Piraz Aminar on the way. No, get them to tell us too. Then we'll get action quicker. Those 4 are all I want. Get anybody else you want to come along." His hands playing over the keys of an enormous calculating machine, Brandon was instantly immersed in a profound mathematico-physical problem. Deaf and blind to everything about him, Westfall, knowing well that far-reaching results would follow Brandon's characteristic attack, sat down at the controls of the communicator. He first called Mars, the home planet of Alcantro and Fidanzo, the foremost force field experts of 3 planets, and was assured in no uncertain terms that those rulers of rays were ready and anxious to follow wherever Brandon and Westfall might lead. Thence to Venus, where Dol Kinor, the electrical wizard, and Piraz Aminar, the master of mechanism, also readily agreed to accompany the expedition. He then called the General-in-Chief of the Interplanetary Police, requesting a detail of 200 picked men for the hazardous venture. These most important calls out of the way, He was busy for over an hour giving long-distance instructions so that everything would be in readiness for the servicing of the immense